All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. We knew when the Cincinnati Bengals and Baltimore Ravens faced off last night that this was a pivotal battle between two AFC North rivals. Both the Bengals and Ravens lost at home last Sunday, and both of them were looking to get back on track. While for Cincinnati, they were attempting to close the gap between themselves and the Bengals in the division, or pardon me, the Ravens rather, in the division. But both the Bengals and Ravens suffered devastating injuries last night. However, in the case of the Bengals, their news is crippling. And I say this because the season is now over for Pro Bowl quarterback Joe Burrow after he suffered a torn ligament in his right wrist. And it's going to be extremely difficult, excuse me, for the Bengals to overcome the loss of Burrow. As you're talking about a guy over the last two seasons that has accounted for 84 touchdown passes. Now at 5-5, the Bengals are currently on the outside looking in regards to the playoff picture in the AFC. And Cincinnati does not have an easy remaining schedule, while they're also 0-3 so far this season within the AFC North. For the Ravens, more than likely, tight end Mark Andrews is going to be done for the season. Some people are calling it an ankle injury, and others are calling it a fibula. But nonetheless, it's looking like Andrews will not be available for the Ravens for the remainder of this season. And it's unfortunate. And I say it because Andrews is the security blanket for quarterback Lamar Jackson. Look at this season alone. He's second on the Ravens in both receptions and receiving yards. He's also the team leader in touchdown receptions. And, he's been that dependable go-to guy. He's the hybrid in their offense. You're talking about a guy that just 2 years ago had more than 1,300 receiving yards. And it's a tough break for the Ravens, no pun intended, because you figure this offense was just figuring it out. Odell was back. You still got plenty of talent at the wide receiver position, but I felt like it was just a compliment for all of their skill players for what Zay Flowers is doing as a rookie. You got the veteran like Odell. Then Mark Andrews, who he keeps those safeties honest because you can't put a linebacker on him. You got to put a safety on him. That's how quick he is, and that's how elusive he is from the tight end position. So this is a huge loss for the Baltimore Ravens because after Mark Andrews on the depth chart at tight end, you're talking about Isaiah Likely, and no disrespect to Isaiah Likely, but he has 9 catches this year for 89 yards. And that's a big fall off from the production that Mark Andrews was giving this team. So you look at both of these teams and their roads to the postseason and their road to Super Bowl championships just got a little bit tougher. Obviously, for the Bengals, it's going to be a lot tougher than it is for the Ravens. Now you've got to rely on Jake Browning at quarterback, and at least if you're Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals, you have some additional time between now and your next game. You host the Pittsburgh Steelers next Sunday at home, so now you have an additional time, or some additional time rather, to attempt to get Jake Browning up to speed, but it won't be easy when we're talking about the Steelers as they have one of the better defenses in the NFL. And not taking anything away from Jake Browning, but there's just something special that Joe Burrow not only brings to the quarterback position, but also what he brings to the Cincinnati Bengals. He's one of those guys that has that it factor. Excuse me, he's called Joe Cool for a reason. He knows how to be elusive. He knows how to go out there and make plays. And then the timing that he has with the likes of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in that passing game for the Cincinnati Bengals, his ability to see the entire field. So obviously, if you're Zach Taylor, you're going to have to scale back what you can and can't do on offense, and then it's going to be important for other guys around Jake Browning to try to step up because it's a hard ask to go out there and ask Jake Browning to beat Joe Burrow. He's clearly not. On the flip side, for the Ravens, they're still in a better position than the Bengals. Obviously, Baltimore, they're 8-5 right now. They're in first place in the division. Um, they're more than likely they're going to win this division still without Mark Andrews. But I see Baltimore really missing Mark Andrews come January in the postseason because you're going to be playing those elite teams. They're going to try to take something away from you. And again, Mark Andrews was a security blanket for Lamar Jackson in this offense. It's kind of like, you know what, taking Patrick Mahomes pardon me, taking Travis Kelsey away from Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. That's how vital, in my opinion, that Mark Andrews was and is to this Baltimore Ravens offense. For the Cincinnati Bengals, it's going to be a little bit tougher. Like I said, they're 5-5, and they're on the outside looking in to the postseason picture. And of course, those 5-5, 4-5, 5-4 teams right now is a big time logjam right there in the AFC. And you're talking about a Bengals team. They've still got two with the Steelers. They finish with the Cleveland Browns at home. They've also got to go to Kansas City and take on Patrick Mahomes and company in week number 17. And then they got to go to Jacksonville in week number 13. So it's going to be an even tougher road for them to get to the postseason than it already was. For the Ravens, they got some time to get as healthy as possible before they're on the road to take on the Chargers next Sunday night. They then have their bye week, and then they've got the Rams at home, at Jacksonville, at San Francisco. They're home for Miami in Week 17 on New Year's Eve, and then they finally finish up at home with the Pittsburgh Steelers in week number 18. But nonetheless, just when you thought things were coming together for both of these teams, this is bad news. I know that the Ravens won the game last night, but with the Ravens losing Mark Andrews and the Bengals losing Joe Burrow, there are really no winners in that contest. It's all about adjusting, excuse me, and adapting, and it's a next man up philosophy. So let's see who the next man up is going to be for both the Ravens and the Bengals, respectively, as they look to put both of these horrific losses that they suffered last night behind them and go forward with a push to the postseason and possibly a Super Bowl run for each of them. But, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.